What would you do if a child, dirty, barefoot, trembling, ran across an airport runway and screamed that your private jet was about to explode? Would you ignore her, or would you risk looking foolish and save your own life? James Whittaker, one of the most powerful men in American aviation, was seconds away from boarding his jet when a 10-year-old girl changed everything. Her warning stopped him cold. Minutes later, the jet erupted into a fireball behind him. She vanished without a trace. No name, no clue. Just one impossible question. How did she know what follows is a story not just about sabotage and betrayal at the highest levels, but about redemption, courage, and the powerful bond between a little girl and the man she chose to trust. By the end of this story, someone will lose everything, but what they gain will mean far more. Stay with us, because what begins with an explosion ends with a promise that might just restore your faith in people. James Whittaker was one of the sharpest minds in aviation. Billionaire CEO, respected, feared even. That morning at Houston International, he was supposed to board his sleek private jet to Washington, D.C. for a high-stakes merger worth more than most people would make in 10 lifetimes. He had his Bluetooth in finalizing terms with a European investor when it happened. Wait, what the hell? James blinked at the sudden movement near the runway. A girl, maybe 10 years old, barefoot, her clothes hanging off her like old curtains, came sprinting across the tarmac. "Sir, don't get on that plane," she screamed out of breath, her voice shrill and cracking. Security hadn't even reacted yet. She was fast, too fast. "Sir, please, it's going to blow up. They said if you board it, you won't come back alive." James froze with one foot on the first step of the jet. His pilot, Roberto, leaned out of the cabin. "All systems are green, sir. Ready for takeoff." James glanced at the girl, then at the plane. His instincts, a thing that had built empires and crushed rivals, were whispering something wasn't right. He narrowed his eyes. "You shouldn't be here, kid," he said firmly. "This is a restricted zone." "I know," the girl panted, gripping his jacket sleeve, "but I heard them talking. Last night, near the freight terminal. Two men. One said you had to die before Monday." He almost laughed. Almost, but then something in her eyes, too wild, too desperate to be faked, made him pause. He turned slowly toward the jet. Then Roberto's voice cut through the moment like a blade. Sir, something's odd with the fuel. It smells weird, like chemical cleaner. Stronger than usual." James whipped around. "What kind of chemical? I can't explain it," Roberto muttered. "Just, it's not right. In 30 years, I've never smelled anything like this." That was enough. "Get off the plane," James barked. But now Roberto jumped down just as the first shockwave hit. The explosion was deafening. The jet lit up like a fireball straight out of an action movie. Glass shattered across the tarmac. Heat slammed into James like a fist. The pressure wave knocked him to the ground, ears ringing, vision blurring. For a few horrifying seconds, he couldn't breathe. Flames danced where his plane used to be. Metal rained from the sky like fiery shrapnel. The jet was gone, incinerated. Nothing left but twisted steel and black smoke. James coughed, rolled over, and looked around. The girl. Where was she, Lily? He shouted, not even knowing her name. Only the face dirty, frightened, impossibly brave. But she was gone. Just fire crews, sirens, chaos. Paramedics rushed Roberto away, his hands trembling like a leaf. A man in a dark suit knelt beside James. "Mr. Whittaker," the man asked, flashing a badge. "Detective Nolan. We need to ask you a few questions." James sat up, still staring at the wreckage. "It was sabotage," he muttered. "A child warned me. She saved my life." "A child," Nolan frowned. "Where is she now?" "I don't know," James whispered. "She vanished. You remember what she looked like? She was about 10, dark hair, wore torn clothes, no shoes, said she heard them plotting near the old freight terminal." Detective Nolan scribbled notes. "We'll start combing surveillance footage immediately." "She knew something," James said slowly. "She knew before anyone." In the hours that followed, the airport turned into a war zone of lights, investigators, news vans, and questions. And James Whittaker, untouchable titan of the skies, felt something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. Real, primal, shaking fear. That night, he didn't sleep. At 4:07 a.m., James called Martin, his chief of security. "I want every frame of footage from Houston Airport yesterday between 2 and 3 p.m. Look near the cargo zone. I'm looking for a little girl." "Yes, sir, right away." He hung up and stared out the window of his penthouse, watching the city breathe. Lights blinked, cars moved. Somewhere out there, she was alive, and someone had tried to kill him. Not to ruin a deal, not to send a message, to end him. By sunrise, James was back in his office on the 50th floor, ignoring calls from the board and brushing past stunned employees. His assistant Sophia brought him coffee with trembling hands. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I shouldn't be anywhere right now," James replied. "But I'm not going to sit still while someone out there thinks I died today." At 10 a.m., he had 5 airport supervisors sitting in front of his desk. "I need information," he told them. A girl, dark hair, small, maybe 10 years old, was seen running near the runway yesterday. They exchanged uncertain glances. "There are always kids near the terminals," one muttered. "Street kids. We chase them off when we can." "She saved my life," James growled. "She knew. Someone needs to tell me who she is." And just when James thought it couldn't get worse, Martin called back. "All the security cams in the cargo area were disabled yesterday." "What, every last one? Intentionally shut down?" "But there's one thing. A temp worker claims he saw a girl hiding in a freight truck the night before the explosion." James's mind went cold. She'd been at the airport all night. Why, the next call came from a blocked number. He answered, heart pounding. "James Whitaker speaking. My name is Rachel Moore. I'm a journalist. I know who that little girl is, and I know why someone tried to kill you." James gripped the phone tighter. "Where did you get my number? I investigate corporate cover-ups. I've been looking into your company for 2 years. That girl, her name is Lily Carter, and she's the daughter of Angela Carter, your former maintenance inspector who vanished 3 years ago after blowing the whistle on faulty aircraft parts." James's stomach dropped. "I need to see you," Rachel said. "There's a lot you don't know." Tomorrow she promised him he'd learn the truth. But tonight James couldn't help but wonder. Who the hell had he trusted inside his own company, and how many more people had to die before he faced it? I'm really sorry for interrupting the story right here, just when it's getting intense. But I need to ask you, if you were James, would you have trusted that little girl? Do you think someone inside his company is still trying to cover something up? Let us know where you're watching from in the comments, America, Europe, or anywhere in the world. And if this story pulled you in, please drop a heart and hit like to support the next episode. James Whitaker arrived at the Rusty Spoon Diner 15 minutes early. And for a man who once kept world leaders waiting, that meant something. He chose the booth in the back, where the flickering neon lights couldn't reach his face, and sat facing the door like someone expecting a threat, not a journalist. When Rachel Moore walked in, she didn't carry a notepad. She carried a storm. "Mr. Whitaker," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Thank you for coming. Let's skip the pleasantries," James replied. "Who is Lily Carter? Why did she know my jet was rigged to explode?" Rachel pulled out a manila folder and placed it between them. "Because her mother, Angela Carter, used to work for you. She was an aircraft inspector. 3 years ago, she filed a complaint about substandard parts being used in several jets, and was fired a week later." James stared at the folder but didn't touch it. "That's impossible. I never saw that report." "Because someone made sure you didn't," Rachel said coldly. "Angela disappeared soon after. Her daughter has been living on the streets ever since. The girl you're looking for. That's Lily. She heard the sabotage plan while hiding inside a shipping crate near the old freight terminal." James clenched his jaw. "Someone inside my company tried to kill me and used my own jet to do it." Rachel leaned forward, her voice lower now. "You remember Victor Green?" James's eyes darkened. "He was my partner. I fired him for embezzling funds from our maintenance division." "Well, Victor didn't just skim money. He replaced certified aircraft parts with cheap counterfeits and pocketed the difference." Angela caught him. She went to HR. She even tried to go public. A week later, she vanished. The air in the diner seemed to grow heavier. James took a long breath. "Where is Lily now?" "She's staying with an old woman named Mrs. Hattie Jenkins at the old freight terminal. But she doesn't trust anyone, especially anyone in a suit." I need to talk to her, James said. I need to find Angela. Rachel narrowed her eyes. Why the sudden interest, James? Because you almost died, or because your guilt is finally catching up? He didn't flinch. Because a 10-year-old girl risked her life to save mine, and no child should be punished for telling the truth. That night under the gray sky above the ruins of Houston's forgotten freight yards, James Whitaker walked where no billionaire ever had. Burned-out trailers, broken glass, stray dogs, and a little girl peeking from behind rusted containers with eyes that had seen too much. Mrs. Jenkins sat by a fire barrel peeling potatoes with a rusty knife. You the one they say owns the jets, she asked without looking up. Yes, ma'am. You the one who fired her mama? I don't know. I never saw her file, but I'm here to make things right. From behind her makeshift shelter, Lily Carter emerged. Same girl, same eyes. Only now she wasn't shouting. She was watching him with a kind of suspicion that went far beyond her years. Hi, Lily, James said gently. She said nothing. I owe you my life. Silence. Rachel stepped forward. He's not here to hurt you, Lily. He just wants to know the truth. Lily looked at Mrs. Jenkins. Is he the man with the white hair? He is, the old woman nodded. Lily stepped forward. My mom said if anything happened to her, I should find the man with white hair. She said he didn't know what the bad men were doing, but he'd help me. James felt the words hit like bricks. Your mother said that? Lily nodded. She said your name. Said you were the only one who ever told her to trust her instincts. His throat tightened. Do you know where she is? She disappeared, Lily said softly. But I remember the man who came to our house before she left. He wore a gray suit and smelled like cigars. James's eyes widened. Victor. Lily looked up. She said he was dangerous. She was scared. She had papers. She hid them in her suitcase. Mrs. Jenkins chimed in. There's more, Mr. Whitaker. That little girl heard something the night before the explosion. I heard Victor talking to someone else, Lily said. They were near the containers. I think they thought no one was there. One said, if Whitaker boards that jet, we win. James's blood ran cold. He said, with you gone, no one would notice the missing money. No one would fight the merger. Merger. James's voice was a whisper. They want my company. Rachel touched his arm. This is bigger than sabotage, James. It's a corporate coup. But where's Angela? He asked. Rachel exchanged a look with Lily. She might still be alive, she said carefully. A reporter named Aaron Blake, a friend of Angela's, has been hiding whistleblowers for years. If Angela survived, that's where she'd go. James turned to Lily. Would you come with me, help me find your mother? The girl hesitated, then nodded. Because sometimes, even when you lose everything, you can still choose who you trust. I'm really sorry for interrupting here. I know things are getting intense. But let me ask you, what do you think James should do next? Confront Victor head-on or gather more proof in secret? And do you believe Angela is still alive? Or has she been silenced for good? Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And if this story is pulling you in, please show some love with a heart and a like. Your support keeps these stories alive. Part 3 is coming, and trust me, the storm has only just begun. Rain fell lightly over the outskirts of Houston as James Whitaker stepped out of the black SUV, his shoes sinking into the wet dirt. In front of him stood a small brick house, heavily fortified cameras in every corner, steel bars on the windows, and a woman in a leather jacket watching them from the porch like a hawk. That's her, Rachel said. Aaron Blake. The only journalist more paranoid than me. Aaron didn't smile when they approached. Her eyes moved from James to Lily, then back again. You brought him, she asked Rachel flatly. He's not here as a CEO, Rachel replied. He's here as a father, or at least trying to be one. James cleared his throat. I'm not here to clean up my image. I'm here because a 10-year-old girl saved my life, and she's been looking for her mother ever since. Aaron studied him. Then she stepped aside and opened the door. Inside, the air was thick with silence. Computers hummed on a table, crowded with files. On the far wall were pinned photos of missing people faces no one looked for anymore. Aaron turned toward a closed door. Angela, she called gently. There's someone you need to see. It opened slowly. Angela Carter stood in the doorway, thinner than James remembered, her hair pulled back, eyes wary and exhausted. She froze when she saw him. And then she saw Lily. "Mom," the girl whispered. Angela dropped to her knees. Lily ran to her. They collapsed into each other's arms, both crying without shame. Angela held her daughter as if afraid she would vanish again. "I thought you were gone," Lily sobbed. "I had to go away to keep you safe," Angela whispered, kissing her forehead. "But I never stopped loving you. Not for a second." James stepped back, throat tight. He felt like an intruder on something sacred. But when Angela looked up at him, her eyes had changed. "You knew," she said. "You knew about Victor." "I didn't at first," James answered honestly. "But I know now. And I'm ready to destroy him, even if it means tearing down the company I built." Angela nodded. "Then let's do it right." 2 days later, James held a press conference. He stood before a sea of cameras, reporters, and board members. But he didn't talk about profits or growth. He talked about the truth. He revealed Victor Green's sabotage scheme, the fake maintenance contracts, the corrupted inspections. He named names. He provided documents, dates, signatures, and he confessed his own guilt, signing off without reading, trusting blindly, looking away when it was convenient. "I was wrong," he said. "I failed the people who trusted me. But from this moment forward, I will spend the rest of my life making it right." Victor Green was arrested the same day. So were 3 government inspectors. More arrests followed. Headlines exploded across the nation. But James didn't care about public opinion. He cared about one thing: Lily. Weeks later, James sold his company, every last share. He donated half the profits to establish a fund for whistleblowers and aviation safety reform. The rest he used to buy a small house near a local elementary school. Angela started working again, this time for a mechanic's shop that valued honesty. Lily returned to school. She excelled in science. She smiled more. And James. He traded boardrooms for park benches, power suits for baseball caps, ambition for presents. One evening, as the sun set behind the quiet neighborhood, Lily sat beside him on the porch. "James," she said softly, "do you think it's okay if I call you Dad now?" He turned to her slowly, trying to speak past the lump in his throat. "Only if you really mean it." "I do," she said, "because a dad doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to show up. And you did." James smiled. "Then I'd be honored." The next weekend, Lily stood on a small stage at her school's science fair, holding up a model of a jet engine. "My mom used to fix airplanes," she said proudly. "And my dad, he used to fly them. Now he helps people who fix things tell the truth. That's more important than flying." The crowd applauded. James didn't stand. He didn't cheer louder than anyone else. He just smiled, hand over his heart, knowing that for once in his life, he had finally landed somewhere that mattered. Before I let you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe people like James deserve second chances after learning from their mistakes? And what would you have done if you were Angela? Would you have risked everything to tell the truth? Let me know how you felt about this story. If you loved it, comment no 3 below. If it was just okay, drop a no or 2. And if you think we could have done better, be honest and say no. 1. Also, tell us, which country are you watching from? We love seeing how far these stories travel. And if this touched your heart even a little, please like, share, and hit that heart button to support more stories that remind us of what really matters. See you in the next one.